From the Elec recording studios in Tokyo, Japan, I'd like to introduce Kiyotaka Akasaka. He is a renowned Japanese diplomat with extensive experience. He was the Japanese ambassador to the United Nations from 2000 to 2001. He served as the Secretary General of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or the OECD, from 1999 to 2006, and as the Under-Secretary General for Public Information at the United Nations from 2007 to 2012. Mr. Akasaka is the current chairman of the English Language Education Council, or Elec, and president of Nippon.com. We are speaking with him today about his experiences with the English language. We have a four-part interview today. First, we will start with his language journey. Then, we will ask him about his professional history and English. We will ask him about his opinions and advice on English. And finally, we will wrap up with a lightning round question set. Thank you for your time today, Mr. Akasaka.
Thank you.
My name's Tony Gibson, and I'm a member of the Elec Research and Development Department. Thank you for your time today, Mr. Akasaka.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we have some questions for you. So let's begin, okay?
Okay.
So, about your language journey, was learning English something you chose?
Yes, indeed. I have been fascinated by the sound of English from the very young days. Even before learning English, we used to watch TV series, American TV series like Rawhide and Hawaiian Eye and all that, but trailers of those TV series had very attractive English sounds, and I was very much impressed and fascinated. So I chose the language English.
Wow, that's interesting, some of the TV shows. So what are your recollections of learning English at school or university?
First, I learned ABC at the age of 13, I believe, at the middle high school, in the remote village of Osaka, the Chihaya Akasaka Middle High School. Now there, our English teacher, Mr. Kobayashi, was a very interesting person. He taught us English words. I remember I first learned how to pronounce dictionary. He taught us, telling us that writing on the blackboard, ji hikusho nari, the book to consult on your letters, ji hikusho nari. And you pronounce it, ji hikusho, then it sounds like dictionary. That was the first word.
Okay, that's, I guess, some interesting words. I'm sure dictionary is one of the most useful words to learn first. So what are some of the activities you did to practice and improve your English when you were younger?
In good old days, many of my friends learned English through the NHK radio program, English conversation series by Matsumoto Toru. And that was very popular. So the radio program on English conversation, and also I joined the English Speaking Society, ESS, at high school and at the university where I went there too.
Yes, the English-speaking clubs are very, very helpful. So when did you realize English was useful for your future?
Well, I entered the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, English is the language you have got to learn, you've got to speak, you've got to use. And therefore, diplomatic activities, English was indispensable. There I have had a lot of troubles and difficulties in learning English language and other languages as well.
Okay, yeah, it's a very important department to have English language skills. So, thinking about the CEFA skills, which do you think are your strongest? Is it your speaking, your writing, your reading, or your listening?
I'm not good at anything, but if I have got to choose one, writing is the area where I thought that I was strong. Particularly, I felt that when I worked at the GATT, General Agreement on Tariff and Trade in Geneva, the precursor of WTO, World Trade Organization right now, I had to write the all reports and the meeting records at the GATT Secretariat. Now, every day I had to struggle with all the languages, recorded sort of reports came to me, and I had to write reports after reports on those records. So I thought that the Japanese English education stressing the making the putting the very emphasis on writing and grammatical elements was not that bad, because that was useful for me.
Yes, it sounds like it. So, on the other hand, which do you think you are least good at?
Speaking and still listening. First, when you think that you can understand what other people are saying on radio first, the radio news is the easiest way to understand, followed by English news on television, and then comes your conversation with friends and teachers and all that. But when it comes to movies, still I find it very difficult, because in American or British movies you use frequently slangs and very quick conversation among actors and actresses, and very difficult to follow them all.
You mentioned that movie trailers were a source of your learning. Do you still learn from movies?
Oh, yes, I do. And particularly television series of Sherlock Holmes,
Okay.
Columbo, and Hercule Poirot.
Oh yeah, three very famous programs. So what are some things you've learned about yourself through learning English?
Well, English is I found is a must for anybody who want to work in global affairs or globally. Some people say that without speaking a word of English, you might be able to travel. Yes, you may be able to travel and buy some things easily, but when it comes to the real conversation with your friends or with your counterparts, you've got to speak and write and listen with very good English.
Yes, certainly. So what are some things that you've learnt about the world by learning English?
I think there is a English proverb saying that if you know only about England and if you live only in England, you don't know anything about England. Same thing can be said that in my case, learning English and living abroad for nearly 30 years, I have learned a lot about Japan, the strength and weaknesses and bad points of Japan. If I had lived in Japan only, then I would not have been able to find those, drawbacks and bad aspects of Japanese society. But I could find very good, positive parts of Japanese society as well.
Yeah, that's a very interesting self-reflection, and the only way is to live outside your home country. Very interesting. So what are some things you would like to learn more about English?
I think I would like to learn philosophy. I would like to read more books, books of the great philosophers and historians, and there are so many things which I've got to learn about, but English would help me.
Okay, very interesting language journey. Thank you, Mr. Akasaka. So now we're going to move on to professional history and English. When did you start to use English in your career, your early career?
Well, as a matter of fact, that after having joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I started speaking English, but at the beginning, it was very difficult. When I went to England, I could not understand a word of a taxi driver's words. I mean, with Cockney accent, I was confident that I could speak English fairly well at that time, but that confidence was shaken because I could not understand a word of a taxi driver's English.
I think even today some people who live in England would still struggle with some of those more local taxi drivers. So in your career, have you had any struggles with miscommunications?
Many times, particularly when I was working at the OECD or at the United Nations headquarters. I had to work as a moderator of discussions, and sometimes I had to make a press conference. And there, the journalists are not particularly a kind of person to be nicer to you. I mean, they just pose difficult questions, and sometimes I could not understand, but I pretended that I did understand what they say. So I wanted to say, I said what I wanted to say. That's the point in your press conference. If you have to make it, you say whatever you want to say. You don't have to answer all the questions posed by journalists.
I think there are a number of politicians who answer their own questions, which is very useful, good advice. So on the other hand, what are your achievements in relation to your English usage?
My achievement was that I was the writer of the GATT, the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, report on U.S. trade policies. It took months, and I had to read tens of books to prepare for the report. But that was the very first trade policy review paper on the United States trade policy. Then I did write a report on Japan and Nigeria. Twice on the United States, twice on Japan, and once on Nigeria. And I think that at that time I did work very hard.
Yeah, it sounds very a lot of effort went into that. Can I ask you some examples of questions that you were asked when you were at the UN or others?
The questions were very difficult ones because the United Nations, the international organizations aspiring to achieve some ideal things like no death penalty, no nuclear weapons, the ideal things. But people might ask you, what is your view on death penalty? What is your view on LGBTQ? You've got to answer in accordance with the very well-prepared text for such occasions.
Yeah, there's very tough questions to answer. I guess you would have to have some sort of advanced knowledge of those questions so you can respond. So in your career, being able to choose words when responding must have been very essential skill. Have you ever struggled to articulate?
Indeed, I have always struggled to articulate, particularly for me, it was a matter of vocabulary. If you have a lot of words to say anything, you might be able to choose one, a very good one. But I think I still lack in the English vocabulary, particularly when I want to express my views on delicate questions, and I tend to use easy words, but I always struggle to find out better, more appropriate words.
I can imagine on the diplomatic stage that giving your own opinions would be tough and choosing the right words. So in your distinguished career, you must have met many prominent public speakers. Who, in your opinion, was the most impressive?
I was lucky because when I was working at the headquarters of the United Nations, we had very many prominent politicians in particular, or movie stars and other people. Well, the most prominent and impressive speaker was Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, without looking at the text, could speak so eloquently. And Bill Clinton as well. Or Tony Blair, for that matter. And the President Castro of Cuba. Oh, he was impressive. Although it was in Spanish, but we could understand. He started with saying that life is ephemeral. Life is indeed ephemeral. Castro and Chavez as well. He was a nasty guy. A nasty president of Venezuela, but very good speaker. And I could indeed meet very many impressive, eloquent speakers.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for those very interesting stories and information. So we're going to move on to part 3, which is